Mine do. Okay. How's it going, everybody? I am Zach, and this is Military Mortgage Advisors. I have my co-host Josh Williams, and we also have Katie on today, and we're going to be diving into the Albuquerque, New Mexico market. And if you're PCS into that area, this is an episode you will not want to miss. How's it going, Katie?
Hey, great guys. Good to be here with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how long have you been serving out there in real estate, the Albuquerque area?
I've been a realtor for 3 years and I mostly serve military families.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, so mostly military families, been out in real estate for 3 years. What's the big kind of like presence out there for military? Because Josh and I were in the Army, so we're not too familiar.
So there we have three Air Force bases. Kirtland is in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We also have Sandia Labs, so that's a big draw for the DoD. We also have Los Alamos to the north, up in Santa Fe, and with the labs there. And then we have Holloman Air Force Base in Alamogordo, which is to the south of Albuquerque. Albuquerque's kind of right in the center of the state. And then Cannon Air Force Base is up to the northeast corner in Clovis, New Mexico.
Okay, awesome. Awesome, awesome. So a lot of DoD slash military presence in that area.
Yep, Space Force and Air Force and DoD. Yeah.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And what got you into real estate in the first place? I love hearing everyone's journey.
It was completely unplanned. So I was an Army officer. I was an ordnance officer, active duty. I was enlisted before that as well. And then after I got out, I was an Army spouse, active duty. I've lived overseas. I had 11 PCSs. And unfortunately, my husband got sick with cancer on active duty and he passed away. So I was caring for him full time, and I decided our last PCS would be to Albuquerque, New Mexico, because that's where my family's from. I felt like I needed the family support. So got to Albuquerque, and then I was kind of like, well, now what? What do I do? I have a master's degree in education. I have my military background, and someone mentioned something about real estate, and I thought that sounds interesting. And I kind of just did it on a whim. Went through my licensing, got started, and 3 years later, I've had about 75 transactions. Um, and most of them are military families. I get repeat customers with military families because I keep in touch with them. I know how hard it is to move every 2 years, and since I've done it, and I just love it. That's my heart. I've been in the military community since 1994, so I'm OG.
And you said you guys did 11 PCSs.
That's including my last PCS as a Gold Star spouse. So
Mhm.
yes, so I have PCS as active duty, dual military, and then as a military spouse, and then as a Gold Star.
That's, yeah, quite a bit of moving. So you've really gone through the thick of PCS and from, it sounds like CONUS, OCONUS, like everywhere.
Yes, with kids, with dog. I won PCS. I We put the fish because we can't leave the fish. Put the fish in a bag in an insulated cooler, and I had plugs going in so it had air, and the fish made the 12-hour drive. Nobody died, and the kids made it
Oh yeah, moving with the military is always fun, but that's I've never had to travel with the fish, so that's funny.
too. Yeah, it's always an adventure, and it got harder every year, to be honest. But my military community is what was is my heart, and that's what just kept me strong. Every move is my military family. It
Hmm.
just helped me get through it.
Yeah, yeah, that is a good thing. It seems like we always have some kind of connection or resource moving with the military. We know somebody. We once you're in for a while, you kind of have a good little network. So yeah, it's something
Absolutely.
we don't think about once we're out.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And like what if someone is PCSing, what were kind of your like hacks to make it as easy as possible? I know PCSing is never easy, but what were some things that you did to kind of make it as smooth as possible?
So I always tell them plan for everything. And of course, I want them to buy a house with me, but I always tell all my families get on the housing list for Kirtland because you never know, right? And then we spread our options out wide to buy or rent. So we get started with a local lender if they're interested in buying, if they just want to get a, fulfill their curiosity of finding out what that's like and what the payment would be. And then we kind of drill down by what is your commute? What's your threshold of pain of how much you want to drive? Because even though we are a small town, that we have a river that cuts through our city, and we're also surrounded. We have some geographical and cultural boundaries of our city that's very unique. We have a very unique culture of New Mexico. So we have the mountains, we have river, only a couple places to cross. And then also, we're very unique that we're surrounded by Native American reservations. So, and these Native American reservations have been around since before United States even existed, or reservations. Their homeland was there. They never got kicked off. This has been their homeland for thousands of years. So this kind of constricts Albuquerque, so it's kind of grown in a really in a unique way, different than other places. So I always say, look at your commute and then also look at your schools, because if you have those considerations for your children. So once you navigate those two pieces, and I like to send information of what I know about the schools. There's always the online information, but a lot of it, like we just said, it's word of mouth and speaking to other people in the military community and say, what's your experience been? Because of course we know sometimes the loudest voices can speak really negative things, and you have to, when you go look online at online reviews. So sometimes just talking to other military spouses or other military members and see what they've done is always fun. I did that when I moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, seeing some things online can give you all different kinds of opinions, but actually knowing somebody there who's
Yeah.
has a feel for the area, I feel like that's how I always prepared with like my PCS moves. Is I always ask like, okay, where do I need to look? What's like an easy drive
Yeah.
to base? Like, because I know when I was down in Georgia, I found like one city and they're like, if you live there, it's a terrible commute because I would have to drive all the way around. It looked like it was right next to post, but it was like, just things that you don't
Right.
know about until you start talking to that network that you have that you mentioned.
Right. And then you got to do your own due diligence. So I always say, get on your favorite driving app. I use Waze a lot, or your Google Maps. Plug in the gates. So our three gates that we have are Eubank at Kirtland, Truman, and Gibson. So I'll say those are the three gates. Talk to a lot of people have someone who they know that's already there, that's in their office, and I'll say, ask which gate you're going to. So we plug that gate in, and then we plug in the address. And then I say, make sure you know your commute time too. So plug that in, and then decide if that is good enough for you. Is that okay? Do we need to stretch it? And that will give you an idea of where we're going to put our search radius at.
Right, right. Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. And then I think you mentioned some about also diving in with them about like renting or buying. What are you seeing average rents in your area, just out of curiosity?
It really depends on the area, which is it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So if further out, it can be a little cheaper. Closer in, it can to the base, it can cost a little more.
Hmm.
So I've seen just recently, I saw a three-bedroom house. It was 1,800 square feet, and it was about 1950. It was on the west side, so about 30-minute commute. But then I've seen other properties go for about 2,500 a month. So it just really depends. So what I do, if someone's not sure, I'll say, are you thinking about renting? So I have colleagues that have property management services, and I send it out and I say, hey, I have a military family coming in. These are their criteria, and they'll send me homes. What I do often is I even negotiate those rental prices. They'll say, well, this is whatever amount. And I'll say, well, can we lower it a little bit? This is our BAH. Because I really try to push and say, look, this military family doesn't have a choice about coming here. Can you give us a break? And I always ask for that.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we just look at
What?
all our options because you never know.
Yeah. And now you just sparked my curiosity again.
Yeah.
What's your guys' average? I know obviously it's going to depend on rank, but what are you seeing for BAH in your area?
So about 2,200 a month where it starts.
Okay.
Yeah. It just, of course, it depends with rank and with and without dependents.
Right,
So a lot
right.
of people are wanting about 22 to 25, but then I have some people that can spend three. And it also depends, are both spouses working? There's so many different things that go into it. So I always guide people towards the DoD travel website, and that's where you can
Hmm.
look up your BAH rate. And as we all know, BAH rates went up a little bit, but
Hmm.
also the other consideration, BAH only covers 90% of your housing costs in the regulation. So people think that it's going to cover utilities and all that. It's like, not, it may not.
Right, right.
So it can be challenging for lower enlisted members. It can be, but we
Mhm.
have made it work. And there are a couple workarounds I have to do that.
Okay. And what have you found to be the solution? Because we're also seeing lower enlisted kind of run into whether it's renting or buying, we're kind of hitting that same situation of it's really expensive, for them, or
Yeah.
BH doesn't cover it. So yeah, what workarounds have you found?
So one of them is new construction. So our builders here are offering incentives to buy new construction. So I've seen rates as right now about 5% for which is not bad. And also they'll pay closing costs. Some will. I've seen up to $10,000 in closing costs for a VA loan.
Wow.
Um, the location can vary in prices. I've seen some new construction for about $330,000.
Okay.
Uh, and we just have to keep in mind we're still going to do inspections and check that builder's work. And also, your property taxes can go up a little bit that second year of owning it. And so you have to have a little room in the savings account to plan for. I've had one family, it went up $200 for their, so then they weren't expecting it. But if you know in advance, and you can be ready for that change because the escrow can change. Um, let's see what else. Another thing we do is just we put the look out wide, put the search out wide sometimes, and just see where it's going to take us. You never know. And so, but because you all know, if you have your search really small, uh, you're not going to find as many results when you're looking when you're first starting.
Yep. Yep. You definitely got to expand that reach and see kind of what's out there. Because if you have it so narrowed in, you're
Yes, because
very
I
limited
have
options.
yes, and I'll have some families and say, I was told I have to go to blah blah blah, and I'll say, that's a great idea. We can look there, but have you considered there's other places? And I don't want to pigeonhole them and say this is the only place you must go. If there's a school there specific that you are at, absolutely we'll go there. But I think sometimes just broadening the search just to get more information before you dial down is always the good way to start.
Right, right. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Okay, awesome. So you're seeing some incentives with those new builds.
Absolutely.
Definitely interesting to hear that your guys' price point. I think our average price point for a new build right now, depending on the neighborhood, is like 475. So hearing that you guys are at 330, definitely. Well,
I can get you in one. That's not the average price of new builds, but I can
yeah.
get you in one at 330. Our average price in Albuquerque in the entire greater MLS for a single family home is $423,000. And now that's
423.
my stats from last month. So GAR, Greater Albuquerque Association of Realtors, we get our stats a month behind. So that's for December 2024. And we have just seen an increase, just continually going up. We have not seen a decrease in the last couple of years. Every summer we hit a new high with price, average price.
Okay. And do you guys have a lot of factors like driving home prices up in your area? Is there a lot of growth in your economy?
Yes. So there's yes, a lot. So besides the labs and the Air Force Base, we have Amazon built up a lot. We have Intel. We have a lot of high tech industries here. So that is we have a lot of that coming. So there's always building. We do besides the reservations that will not permit building on with with there's other places around that are we have a lot of raw land here. And so there's a lot of opportunities for solar that is here and wind generation. So there are a lot of things that are coming to Albuquerque. We've been told the next 5 years we're supposed to have a housing shortage because we have people coming in, but not as many, not opportunities for places to live. Our city is working on that. They just changed some designations for, we have something called a casita. Are you familiar with that?
No, what is that?
So a casita in Albuquerque is also in some places called a mother-in-law quarters or an additional dwelling unit, an ADU.
Okay.
So in the city of Albuquerque, not all cities have this. The city provides plans for people to build ADUs on their property and really ease in the permitting. So it's really simple process. So what people are doing to one of the things to combat the housing problem is they're building casitas. New Mexico is known for a lot of multi-generational living. We're very people who are from here. You are tight with your familia, and so my house. I'm right now in my casita on my property, and I have an extra bedroom here. And the home I live in, my family moved in here in the 1950s, and it fell out of the family. It was in the family for about 50 years, and fell out of the family. They sold it after my grandparents passed away, and I bought this property. And so many of my cousins, when their mom and dad got married, my aunts and uncle, they lived here in this casita when they
Hmm.
had their babies. And so that's one of the strategies the city has used. They're also trying to do some stuff with working on the retail spaces, the business office spaces that people aren't using anymore. And we know about that with COVID. Everybody went to working at home.
Yep.
So they're trying to make those into apartment spaces as well. So the city's really working hard. They acknowledge that there's a problem. And then the builders are building as fast as they
Hmm.
can.
Hmm.
A lot of the homes you see listed, do they already have a casita or is there just the incentives to build?
No. Well, no. No, I haven't. It's a rare bird. When you find one, you're like, ooh la la. It's so nice. And there's a lot of neighborhoods here that just don't turn over. They stay in the family. And you have to wait for someone to pass away to get into that neighborhood. I mean, it sounds terrible, but people don't let some of these houses go. They've been in the same family for years and years. My neighbor across the street, they've been in that house. That family, it's the same family for about 70 years.
Oh, wow.
People, yeah, these I'm in one of the older neighborhoods. I'm in the downtown corridor. Um, and I just love it here. I love living down here.
So it sounds like it's a good investment to buy a home there.
I think so. Prices are going up. It's affordable compared to other areas. And there's a lot to do here. We have New Mexico is a hidden gem, and I've lived all over the world. Um, we have
It's
great
listen.
culture. Yeah, we have great culture. So we have museums, we have sports, we have New Mexico United soccer, we have we have baseball. We have a minor league team, the Isotopes, and then we have the University of New Mexico. So we have college football and all the college games. College basketball is huge here for the Lobos, and then we have our International Balloon Fiesta in October. For it's amazing if you haven't been. It is a must do for your bucket list, and I hold a big breakfast for our clients that come down, and they get to have the sunrise and the breakfast and be on the field for the balloon fiesta. It's amazing. There's if you like outdoor stuff, if you like to hunt, fish, rock climb, hike, ski, snowboard, go camping, we're the place to go. We're affordable. Um, and then let's don't even get me started about the food here. The food is amazing. So, can you get Mexican food? Yes, but new Mexican food is amazing. And our green chili is amazing, better than Colorado's. Sorry, guys. But there's just the food here is great. There's international, you can eat all kinds of different cuisine here. There's just a lot of great things. There's always something to do. We have the New Mexico Philharmonic. I'm going to see Mozart play show this weekend. We have a thriving theater community. There's just something for everyone here, and I just love living here.
You got me convinced to move to New
I
Mexico.
know. I'm like, oh.
A great place. I mean, there's a farmer's market down the street that I can walk to in the mornings. Like, who can beat that? You
Yeah,
can
that's
take
awesome.
a train to Santa Fe. We have art galleries. There's so much to do here. If you have nothing, if you PCS here and you say you're bored, that's a barracks problem. Like, what were you doing? There's so many things to do. You should be your appointment book should be filled with stuff to do here.
That's how I feel. Most places, I love how you said it, that's a barracks, thing. The barracks rats just hanging out,
Yeah,
ordering Domino's, not going anywhere, not seeing anything, and then they leave and they're like, "Yeah, it sucked," and it's like you didn't do anything.
we have a great little airport. It's international. You can fly anywhere. You can fly to Vegas in an hour and 15 minutes and go to Vegas. Like you, that's great. It's so convenient. We're not a big city. We're a small city. We think we're small Albuquerque. We say that sometimes, and we have the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon that someone and someone knows somebody. Um, that happens a lot here. But we're a big enough city. You're not running into everybody. It's not. We're not just a Sonic and a stoplight. We have stuff to do.
A Sonic and stoplight. That's
You know what I mean.
yes,
There's
I do.
no, it's a great place. I have a lot of military families that come here to retire, and they've been here for a duty station prior, and then they're like, "That place was really amazing," and they come back, and this is where I chose to retire. And we have great benefits also for tax purposes for military families.
And it
So yeah,
sounds like with the growth, there's potential job opportunities when you exit the military.
absolutely. Oh gosh, yes, yes. Yes, absolutely. I can't speak to that specifically since I didn't go, into like a military focused job. But I have clients that have done that. Yes, and they've done it very well. Mhm.
Now, what is the weather like? Is it primarily hot? The winter's mild?
So we have I think we have about 350 some days of sunshine. I
Okay.
can't remember the exact number. So when it's a little cloudy, we're all like, híjole, what is going on? Like it's not normal to have clouds. We know snow's coming. Um, so it's pretty mild. It's gotten a little warmer in the summer. So expect this summer, July was pretty rough. It was about 110 a few days, but our humidity is very low. Uh, I took a trip to it was kind of cool. It was probably in the 90s in New Mexico, and I took a trip to New York City in August, and I just melted. And I forgot about humidity. We just don't really have it, so it's very dry. So in the sun, and also we're at elevation. We're at about 8,000 feet. So I
Okay.
tell folks, make sure you drink water here. People aren't used to it, not just because of the lack of humidity, the elevation. So drink your water, extra water, and moisturize and put on your sunscreen. And then in the winter, you're going to run a humidifier in your room because you need that humidity. It is so dry. But in the winter, it's very mild. We don't get a lot of snow in the mountains. We do. I'm in the city, and I'm at 8,000 feet in the city. So the mountains they go up to 10,000. And so they'll get a lot of snow up there in the winter. And I have a lot of military families that live out in the mountains too. So that's the cool thing about coming here. You can live downtown like I do and walk to the farmers market. You can live in the mountains and have a couple acres. I have one family that bought 10 acres of land and they have animals out there and they love it. I have another family that they wanted suburbs and that's what they got. They're on the west side and they got suburbs. There's gated communities. There's everything. There's something for everybody here.
Every time someone brings up land, I love to talk about it. I love the VA loan. There's no
Yes.
acreage limit, which is most people don't know that, and it's an amazing opportunity to start a little homestead.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. VA loan, the best loan out there. Yeah. I'm so glad that that our families have that. It's a gift.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely is. And it's like we talked about this earlier today. It's the military's best kept secret. They don't tell you about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually got told not to use my VLM the first time I used it. They were like, your PCSing because I knew I was going to Germany, and I was like, well, I want to come back to Colorado, and I was like, I don't see this place disappearing anytime soon, And then, I mean, like I joke with Josh, it's like the best dumb mistake I did as an E4 because, I mean, if I would have tried to move back in 2021 after getting out of the military, I wouldn't have been able to afford it. Like, and now I'm sitting on a bunch of equity. I have a home. My mortgage is cheap, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. I use my VA loan. There's a lot of myths out there for it. And I think just linking the consumers up with realtors and lenders that are knowledgeable about the VA loan and not trying to scare them off and explain the whole home buying process. We're not taught that in high school. At least I wasn't, and even college. No one told me how to buy a house, what the steps are, and you're relying on a professional to guide you through that process. Of course, you can Google it now because back when I bought a house, I couldn't do that. But you're relying on that professional. I remember I was PCSing from Korea, buying my first house. I was in my 20s, and they were like, "Okay, Katie, now you have to. So you're gonna have to pay some closing costs." And this realtor didn't tell me anything about the process. I just kind of was just felt like the blind leading the blind, and I said, "Well, what do you mean closing costs? I thought I had a VA loan that was no." And they're like, "No, no, no." They never explained to me the whole loan process. The VA loan does not cover closing costs. They didn't under. They never explained it to me the VA funding fee. I mean, there are a few little things that specializations with the VA loan, but I think working with a lender and a realtor that will explain it to you, you know, and just so people understand, and then people can make the best decision. Yeah, they don't show that they don't talk about in the military either. No one tells you.
No. And
No.
that's really been our goal with military mortgage advisors is to educate the community. You know,
Exactly.
Zach and I both were infantrymen, I served 6 years, Zach a little longer than that, and I never once heard anything about the VA loan.
Yeah.
So, and we saw a stat the other day that was ridiculous. If you include active duty, only like 8% of veterans ever used their VA loan. And so, that's been a big motivator for us is just to get the knowledge out to the community because you have this resource in your pocket that,
Right.
is extremely valuable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I had some folks that are like, I'm not sure if I'm eligible. Well, we can help with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very easy to determine eligibility or not. Can I pull a
Yes.
COE for you or not? Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I think people get scared of the process, and to get a certificate of eligibility, a few clicks of a button and I can get it in 2 seconds for somebody. The application process is so streamlined now, soft checks on credit, so there's no hard check or inquiry until you're ready to go under contract. I think the
Mhm.
process has really gotten easier. It's just
Yep.
there's not everyone has the right knowledge base teaching about
Right.
it.
Yes. And I always tell people, I ask, have you bought a home before? Ask some questions. And where did you buy? How long ago? Because things change. And then also, if they've bought a home, I said, well, have you bought in New Mexico? Because we're special. We're the wild, wild west out here. I was just talking to another client the other day and he's never bought in New Mexico. And it's like, well, we do things a little different. If you bought in Texas, they have their own procedures to, home buying. New Mexico does its own thing. And so I'll say to them, don't ever be afraid to ask a question. Did you think it's dumb? Because how do you know? You have never done this. And so I'm always like, ask away. Let's do a group chat with both spouses if there's two people involved, or let's group email and any questions. If you have a burning question, you put that in the chat and I will answer it as soon as possible. Because you just don't know what you don't know. I'm not going to go in assuming you know what you're doing. And if they have, and they don't want you want the high level version, I will back off and if they're experienced with buying, I'll guide them, and I do that every time with every family.
That's awesome.
Perfect. Well, do you have any closing statements you want to leave everybody with?
Oh gosh, New Mexico is a wonderful place to live, and I love it here. It's a great place to retire, and there's a lot of great opportunity out here. So I just when you have your orders, make sure you're working with someone that you feel comfortable with, and ask all the questions and make sure they're educating you. Because not only if you bought a house before, rules change all the time. Our rules, I have new forms every year to buy a house, and I have to relearn another form. So just make sure they're answering all your questions, and following, doing what you want to do. If a realtor is telling you don't do this, don't do that, I'm not the boss of the transaction. I'm the guide. The client, the homeowner, the person who wants to buy the home, they're the one making the decision. I am just the guide along the way. So just make sure you feel comfortable with that person.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being on, Katie. And if you guys are PCSing to New Mexico, you definitely want to reach out to Katie. She is a wonderful agent. All of her contact information is listed on the Military Mortgage Advisors website. We'll leave a link to her page below. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.